Hey, everybody. We will get rolling in just a second here. Everything is live on Facebook and being recorded for posterity as well. So if you don't want to be seen, we will try and avoid keeping you on the screen here. It'll probably be mostly the KWM staff here talking. And tonight we have four of us. We have Andrew, myself, Cam is back as well after a 1 month hiatus from the Scotch Malt Whisky Society tastings, and Sammy is with us as well. So it should be a pretty good crew here to go through the November Outturn with all of you. So welcome. My name's Evan from the Kensington Wine Market, one of the whiskey staff there, and welcome to our Scotch Malt Whisky Society of November Outturn. We've got 7 drams in front of us tonight. If you didn't see the order of the lineup, I will share the PDF file that was in the email link that you hopefully got. So you can find that in there, but we will be starting with Underground Bakery. Second along the lineup will be a Real Sweetie. Third is The Youth of Today, followed by number 4, A Dream of Jeannie. Next up will be Effortlessly Exotic. Number 6 is Oyster Karate. And number 7 and final is Smoking Bananas in a Frankincense Den. So it's going to be a pretty wild lineup. Like last month, we're not ending on peat. We're ending on something a little bit different, just to change things up. So we'll get started here pretty quickly. But in case this is your first Scotch Malt Whisky Society tasting, try and pour out the drams that you have, so you have some all in front of you. Hopefully you have enough glasses. Try and keep some in your glasses as we're going along as well. This is something that we go through twice. First time around will be what we call the lightning round, where we go through everything quickly, talk about our tasting notes, and you can type them in the chat as well. And then we will go through a second time where we actually reveal all the unknown numbers and statistics about these bottles, how old each whiskey is, where it comes from, and how much it's going to cost you if you want one of those bottles as well. So let's jump in. Or Andrew, do we have anything else we should talk about beforehand?
Oh, well, I mean, I always think it makes sense to highlight some of the other cool things that are coming up, including if you don't get enough of us tonight and you live in the Calgary area, you could come back tomorrow night or is it full now?
I can oversell it by a couple. I'll bring up the screen if you want to talk about that.
I've actually just got it teed up here. So
okay, I'll leave it to you.
Put it on my screen. But yeah, the in-town Outturns tomorrow night. According to this, there's 1 spot left. So that's definitely there. But more importantly, Friday, our friend Lily, aka Celine Tattoo from Elixir Distillers, is going to be in store. We have an incredible lineup for this. I actually can't believe there's still tickets left for this tasting. There's an Imperial, there's Ben Nevis, there's Glenbergie, all of them in their 20s, and some other cool stuff too. It's an awesome lineup, $50, and you get to hear from Lily, who's been in the whiskey industry now for, I think, 2 decades, and is frankly awesome. So that's coming up. There's a Big Bold Kitchen party on, is that Saturday at the shop?
Yeah, Saturday at 5 o'clock. That's going to be a fun tasting. All Big Bold Aussie Reds, if that's up your alley.
And then by any other name, Kurt and Harmony are back from Mexico, and Kurt's got a tasting of secret distilleries coming up, which should be fun. There's still spots left for that tasting. Our festivals are sadly sold out, but this one, I plugged this last night too. The Boutique Whiskey Company. We have a tasting with Dave Worthington, who is an incredible guy to host with, really knowledgeable, really entertaining, and he always puts together a great slideshow. But the reason why this tasting is so cool to me is we have a 22-year-old blend. We have a 32-year-old blend with a Highland Coup that is lovely. The 22 is good, but this is lovely. The 42 is like our old Berry Brothers 40-year-old blend that we had.
Nice.
It's probably ex-Everington stock. It's dynamite. But the kicker on this lineup is we have an under-strength 52-year-old blend. It legally can't be called whiskey. It's 35%, but it's hella fun. So all that stuff is in the tasting with Dave. There's a couple of other cool things in there too, including an Allt-a-Bhainne label that's inspired by House of Pain, 23-year-old whiskey. It's an awesome lineup, definitely worth checking out. And I think I made the mistake of not moving on this. Last night, Evan and I did the 1990s Glenfarclas tasting, which was awesome.
Crazy good lineup.
Yeah. 6 of the 7 whiskeys were phenomenal. One of them was a little on the weak side, but like the other 6 were banging. This 2000s vintage tasting looks really good too. So definitely something not to miss. That's a virtual tasting coming up mid-month. We have a wine festival if you're looking to do something other than whiskey, a port tasting coming up too. And then this bourbon tasting, Buzzard's Roost, which we added coming up in a couple of weeks' time, 3 weeks' time. So lots of cool stuff there. You can check it out on the website. And I guess, Evan, the last thing is because some people here might have an advent calendar. We are now 1 whiskey away from being able to complete this year's calendar, which will hopefully happen early next week. And there's a 19-year-old society bottling in there. We won't say what, but that's the Christmas Day treat this year for the whiskey calendar. So definitely a good reason to check that out. But there's some other amazing stuff in there too. The last whiskey we're waiting on, and it's going to be one of 2, but I'm really hoping it's the one that's 75% alcohol from a distillery we can't name in the Okanagan. And last time I tried it, it was very drinkable at 70+% alcohol. So yeah, 75%. So those things are coming up, worth mentioning.
Yeah, I think we should start measuring the calendar, not how far away it is in time, but in whiskeys. I like the idea of it being T-1 whiskey till KWM whiskey calendar is ready.
Well, the one thing I like to highlight to people is that we actually did start ordering our whiskeys in September last year, because after 2 years in a row of thinking we'd ordered far enough in advance and learning we hadn't, we ordered over a year out. And some of those whiskeys that we ordered a year ago, I'm not joking, just arrived. It took I'm about to spit out an expletive, a year to get here. So
yeah, the only thing we can do now is get a DeLorean and trying to get it up to 88. That's the only way we're going to get better at this.
I think that's up in the Northwest for a Halloween party, from what I understand.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, with that being said, let's jump into the November Outturn, starting with whiskey number 1, which is called Underground Bakery. From a second Phil X bourbon barrel, 2nd of September for the dates, 217 bottles for the Outturn, 59.8% alcohol.
Underground Bakery, eh?
Yeah. So I was thinking it'd be more doughy, but because of the bakery name there, but it's really toasted for me right now.
Yeah, it's like making like raisin bread or something like that. There's a bit of cinnamon and raisins in there.
I was thinking of marshmallows when you're roasting a marshmallow.
Yeah. Even a bit of puffed wheat in there on the nose for me right now. Like going into like a chocolate puffed wheat square, if you've ever had those as an alternative to the sorry.
No, you finish your puffed wheat square, that blah blah blah.
Yeah. As an alternative to Rice crispy squares, essentially.
I was gonna say it reminds me a bit of dim sum on the nose, like some fried, like thin dough things, maybe like chicken in a sauce, some kind of like pork bean paste in like a rice puff.
You guys get any fruit on this? It's really grainy for me right now.
A little bit of citrus, a little bit of white, like a bit of apple, pear. But yeah, I agree. It's more in the grain vein for me than it is in the fruit vein.
Fruit comes out on the palate nicely though. The first sip is a bit hot. A bit of spice there, a bit of pepper, but little bit of peaches, like white peach and pears in there as well.
Yeah, the palate's just doughy, sweet vanilla, almonds,
Yes.
like almond paste croissants,
Yeah.
like not really rich, but like a light kind of marmalade, like not something too acidic or tart. Yeah, that's very pretty. It's a great starter.
Yeah, touch of applesauce in there as well. Mm.
Get a little bit of heat from it, but it's not rough or sharp. Nice toasted oak. I'm surprised
really,
that's second fill.
It's
yeah.
Water doesn't hurt it.
Yeah, I'm gonna try it with water myself. Yeah, it is surprising that second fill. Like it does have this silkiness, like and maybe a touch of dryness coming through, but
I'm happy that I'm not the only one that
vanilla.
was skeptical about water, Peter. I would say, does it need it, would be my question, but there's a bit of science here too. So I've got a fancy pipette here somewhere. Here we go.
Yeah, the puff wheat comes out even more with water for me. Gets a little bit maltier on the palate, a little bit fuller bodied with a few drops as well. The heat kind of steps back just a touch.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Still a lot of that baked goods going on in there.
I like that either way.
Sorry, go ahead, Cam.
No, I was just gonna say water, no water, it's fine both ways.
It's more grainy on the nose with water, but I'm getting more like honey, like what's it called? Like honeycomb kind of notes coming from it. And there's more fruit, I think, with a touch of water, but
yeah,
my verdict is still out on the palate.
What do you think, Sammy?
Well, I quite like this one. Yeah, it's like the first initial taste, to me, is almost like a croissant.
Yeah.
It's almost like one of those, a croissant they put cream and fruit in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah, like a croissant / Danish.
Yep.
I think like that almond paste filled croissant. I think water kind of accentuates the heat, rather than tamping it down, which you'd think by diluting it, it seems to highlight, and maybe over time that'll burn off, but I actually find it a faint bit sharper with the water in there.
There's a floral note that I just can't put my finger on in there, but quite like that. Maybe actually going into a little bit of elderflower as well.
It is getting quite fruity too. Like there's some nice like melons, not quite getting tropical, but starting to head into that direction. It does remind me of something. I can't say what because it'll give away what it is, but
I'm getting a little more citrus on it now, like oranges. The second go around after the water.
Nice. Well, let's put number one aside and let's try it against number two. Number two is named A Real Sweetie. This time we're going into a first fill ex-bourbon barrel for the cask. 16th of January for the date, 187 bottles from the Outturn, 56.5% alcohol. Wow, this is like if you had a laundry detergent that was marshmallow or cotton candy for the aroma.
I was going to say it's like going to your grandma's house in the 1980s and she's got a bowl of hard candies that you don't know how long they've been there.
That's right, at least since the 70s. There is definitely something candied on the nose there.
Very floral too. Like I'm getting like a almost like when you have those lime tortilla chips, but they're spicy at the same time. And hairspray.
Oh, that's a good note.
which is something that, like, that's funny. That's going back to the 80s too, because my wife doesn't use hairspray as far as I've noticed. So that's got to be like reminiscences of going to the bathroom when my mom's doing her hair.
So this is the good old 80s aerosolized stuff, or is this
80s,
the pump action?
Yeah. 80s nostalgia dram on the nose. And actually, you know, like plastic toys back then too also tended to have a bit of a scent to them too. Like, I don't know, for a second there, like that last little, I was thinking 80s. It reminded me of like the Nintendo Entertainment System cartridges.
Oh yeah,
smell too.
Yeah, and Lego.
Yeah. I mean, just imagine.
I've got Lego from the 80s that still smells like this, actually.
Imagine how much plastic we absorbed through our skin in that era. Yeah. So much.
Those toxins, they'll get you.
From what I understand, life gets you one way or the other. So the palate is it's creamy, very floral. And even though there's like a bit of a weight to it, it's like very light and delicate.
Yeah, this is kind of going into like Frosted Flakes versus the first one's puffed wheat, stylistically for me, where it's a little bit, well, quite a bit sweeter on the palate right up front.
I'm going to throw some more Calgary 80s nostalgia out there. The palate to me just made me think of like going into the Devonian Gardens in the 1980s on like a sunny day.
Some of those more tropical flower scents in there.
Yeah, this whiskey's incredibly floral to me, and it's those sort of floral tones that, you know, they're always there, but when it's like a hot day and maybe there's been some humidity in the days leading up to it, so the flowers are just really, really giving off a lot of aroma. Yeah, this is a massive floral whiskey to me.
You guys tried it with water?
I just did. I was struggling with it with all your guys' comments, but with water, actually, I find it's coming out more with the water. Yeah. And I do get some mint on it too.
Cam, you don't like the smell of Nintendo Entertainment System cartridges?
Yeah. Not my favorite.
On the nose with water. This is going back to Halloween, but this is more 80s Halloween since we're in that era. It's like before when everything didn't have to be pre-packaged because the razor and the apples myth. But when people made popcorn balls at home, it's
or
got
like
that
Christmas
sort of sugary,
where they made like Christmas ornaments out of popcorn strings, like candy popcorn and stuff.
Even a few of the burnt kernels in there.
Water seemed to make the nose more floral. It did start to hide some of those plasticky tones a little bit. They're still there on the palate. But yeah, this is a lovely whiskey. It's lively, toasty. There's some really nice citrus tones in there, and it's just floral for me all the way through.
Yeah, it's very, at least for me, and we'll see if other people agree or don't, but these guys do have other society bottlings from this distillery, but this is very atypical for the style we've seen from them over the last while, in my opinion.
Let me ask you this. Do you think this is like sweet? Because I
don't think it's as sweet as the last one.
Yeah.
For me.
I get a lot of sweetness, but it's also like crazy floral. And I thought the last one was floral, but there's a ton of floral notes coming through on this one.
Yeah, this is way more floral. It's very fresh and there's some nice citrus tones there, but to me, the name doesn't really add up. Like unless it's referring to someone's grandmother who they really loved. And
yeah, she was a real sweetie.
Yeah, those aromas of the like decades old candies and, you know, whatever her floral perfume was, maybe that's what they're referring back to.
Well, let's go on to number 3. Now, this is going to be whiplash since we were all talking about our 80s nostalgia. This is called The Youth of Today.
Whippersnappers.
Yeah. from a First Fill X bourbon barrel, 12th of November for the date, 220 bottles for the Outturn, 60.4% alcohol. Yeah, I feel like the alternate name for this, especially since given the age of all of us in our crowd, almost could have been Whatever Boomer.
Yeah. Or like Millennials Sigh.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. This isn't the. I'm assuming it's what's the generation after the Millennials? My daughter's one. I always forget this.
Yeah, I can't remember what the name was decided.
Gen Z. There you go. Yeah.
Zoomers. I like Zoomers for that one.
Are they Zoomers? I don't know. I thought Zoomers were like baby boomers that were still going hard in their late 60s, like living like they were never going to die. Isn't there like a magazine for them?
Isn't every magazine for them?
That's probably true.
This one has a really cool combination of yeastiness and citrus on the nose for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it reminds me of like those little yeast packets you open up to make homemade pizza dough.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also some nice like jujube notes in there too.
Yeah, I get the jujubes as well. Yeah, a little bit going along with that yeastiness, just going slightly waxy along with those jujubes.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's big time like strawberry Twizzlers on the palate, jujubes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a little bit of spice in there as well. Going like on into like jalapeno in a cool manner for me.
It's got a very unusual finish. It's kind of drying, chalky, and cloying.
Yeah.
All at the same time. Late boomers.
Yeah, it's a bit of a wild one.
Yeah, the second sip is nothing like the first. It's very toasty, quite oaky. I'm getting all that spice you were talking about on the first sip. Although it's still kind of got that waxy artificial fruit flavors. Maybe more like
to go. I'm just going to try and do a cereal for each one. This one's we've gone. First one was puffed wheat. Second one was frosted flakes. This one is full on cornflakes. It's like the cornflakes that you've mashed down to, and used like mashed down with wax paper to just make a bunch of crumbs that you're gonna use to coat your fried chicken or something like that.
Have you ever done that, Evan?
Perhaps.
You know, Shanks on Cloud Trail South used to have these insane chicken fingers that were battered in Captain Crunch and then served with ranch dip. Oh man, they were so good. Evan, didn't we come up with like a breakfast cereal themed like
it was PDOs or something that we wanted to get done.
PDOs, and like the milk was afraid of it and trying not to fall out of the bottle.
That's right. We still got to do that one.
Yeah, and then we gave that idea to Chelsea, and that may have been one of the many ideas that turned her away from Arzania. Also, the prospect of coming up with smoking jackets, which
that's right.
I still think we should do, but it's a daunting prospect.
It is. Well, especially in these trying times, just finding the supplier for that would be a nightmare.
Oh, for sure. Water just makes it waxier.
Yeah.
I didn't like it with water.
I don't mind it. It does go maybe a touch bitter on the finish, but
yeah,
I think that actually might be my favorite so far.
Spicy Fruit Loops. That's a good call, Jen.
Yeah. Peter, that was my breakfast. Was my kids' Halloween candy. I think Cam saw me do that. My kids hit up one of the ritzier neighborhoods apparently and got some full-size chocolate bars. So that immediately went into the dad tax portion.
You're a brave man, Evan. Like, I kind of think, and I know you're only a few years behind me. At my age, I can't afford to eat a whole chocolate bar. It's just pushing the envelope too much. And it cuts down.
You got 2 years on me. I guess that's something I get to look forward to.
Yeah, it cuts down on how much beer and whiskey I can drink too. So
that's fair.
You got to balance that scale out somewhere.
Yeah, definitely getting to the having to choose where my calories come from stage in life. That's for sure. Okay, you guys ready for number 4?
Yep.
Okay, so we are going into peated territory with number 4, which is called A Dream of Jeannie.
I think Kelly foresaw in her way of foreseeing things that November was going to come rolling in hard.
Yep.
And wanted to bolster us up with a peat heavy lineup.
Could be. So this is from a second fill ex bourbon barrel, 30th of September for the date. 205 bottles from the Outturn, 62.1% alcohol. Very interesting nose. Peter says, like a peat fire, it does have that note. This is like one, it's wildly medicinal and antiseptic, I would say, yes, on the nose as well.
Yeah, I think it's the peat is a little muted on the nose for me.
Yeah, I don't get so much peat as I do get like tire fire.
Yeah.
On the nose.
It doesn't go full on tire fire for me, but Graham Tyler says ointment, and it's a zinc based diaper cream right now for me.
I can't say I've had to apply that recently.
I'm not so far removed from it. I still remember that how that smells.
Maybe it's not just pure rubber. Maybe it's a riot smoke. So yeah, burning newspaper boxes, maybe a car on fire. So there's a bit of gasoline and rubber burning.
I like Peter's note of burnt with a bunch of herbs. It's like someone came in, like someone very new age came in, or maybe some sort of priest or something, and tried to smudge everything, like with some smoke and some sort of weeds or herbs that were on fire at the same time. Chris says flaming Pantene.
Flaming Pantene.
Yeah.
Like, Chris, do you mean like a hair that had just been shampooed with Pantene and then lit on fire? You're gonna
maybe that's what we do now that it's not the 80s with all the hairspray, is we just light it on fire.
Man, hairspray, and I know this from my experimentation with rocketry that turned into an experimentation with launching things that exploded intentionally. Hairspray is an incredible accelerant.
It is.
It's really, really good. I won't give kids any ideas of, even though they, at least on our YouTube, they can't watch this if they're not adults.
Well, so imagine this. So this wasn't me. This is one of my friends. And I like, this was at an age where I kind of knew better, but also wanted to see what happens, but also wanted to be the first one to run and not take the blame if something burned down. Things that your kids can't do today is I remember being in the middle of a meadow and a friend lighting hairspray on fire and using it as a flamethrower, like in a freaking meadow. And that could have probably taken out a whole hill of forest. But luckily we were just stupid, but we didn't get in trouble for it at the time.
Evan, not trying to one up, but I my parents bought me a model rocketry kit to like help me explore my curiosity. And when my first rocket that I'd spent hours painting and meticulously adding the fins to caught on fire, my idea was not, oh, well, that sucks, what a waste of time. It was, well, if it's going to catch on fire anyway, I might as well make it exciting. And I would take old Christmas paper wrapping tubes, and then I would spray tissue paper with hairspray and sprinkle gunpowder on it and pack it loosely inside this Christmas paper wrapping tube, and then launch them in the air. And let me tell you, those things made a loud bang when the engine blew off the nose cone. So yeah, this does smell a little bit like when one of those things goes off.
Even the taste in the mouth gives you a little bit of that as well, like the smoke from it. Speaking of things that we shouldn't have had as children, does anybody, maybe I only had access to it because I was near the US border, but does anybody remember the non-firecracker called Snappin' Pops? Where it was like a little like twisted up paper ball, like just tiny like this, but they actually exploded from pressure.
Oh yeah, no, I remember those because you could throw them on the ground and they would pop. Yeah, I remember those.
And if you could actually just pop them with your hand if you went like this enough. But I remember as a kid us trying to make a giant one by pulling them all apart and putting it in a Kleenex. And that didn't work, so you just lit it up, lit it on fire. But that taste in the mouth, like it's got that astringent, smoky taste of the after effect there.
We're just lucky to have all of our fingers, eyebrows, hair after all this.
That's a really cool palette though.
Yeah.
Does certainly remind me of a certain distillery.
I'm dreaming of my childhood.
Did you guys try it with water?
I did. The medicinal stuff kind of goes away with water, I thought.
Yeah, it's more smoky oatmeal right now on the nose for me.
Even on the palate.
Yeah, it's got that smoky oatmeal, but it's got like you're not eating the whole flaming marshmallow, but you're eating the part that was completely burnt from the marshmallow.
I generally tried to blow them out before I put them in my mouth. It always seemed like good practice.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh, man.
Okay.
I'm already on to the next one.
I also found that even though it's 62%, it didn't feel like 62%.
No, it didn't. So we are, for number 5, we're doing a little bit of a left turn. We've done peat. Now we're going back to no peat. This is called Effortlessly Exotic from an ex-bourbon hogshead. It was finished in our first fill ex-Sauternes barrique. Sauternes being a French dessert wine. 25th of July for the day, 237 bottles for the Outturn, 54.4% alcohol.
Homemade Play-Doh on the nose.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, good call.
If Noel were here, he would say plasticine and he would be correct.
Yeah. This has got to be one of the more floral Outturns that we've had recently, because this is again going floral for me.
Yeah, and what's funny, Peter's saying the Sauternes comes through strongly. I'm not, I mean, on the nose, I don't know, maybe I could see a little bit of that kind of mustiness from the, hey, Noel is here, and he does say plasticine. Like, to me, when I always think of, like, most of the Sauternes casts have had this very, very kind of sweet, honeyed fruitiness to them on the nose. And yeah, I don't know, to me, this just doesn't come across as, I could see wine cask, but it doesn't come across to me, it's like Sauternes right off the bat.
Yeah, it does have that mustiness again for me that you're talking about as well. Peter says it has that dessert cart smell. It does. It's like some of the like lemon cake pastries that you get,
like a lemon tart.
Yeah.
Grandpa's putty. Like, are you talking window putty, Craig? I'm assuming that's what you're talking about, like linseed oil.
I really like the nose on that.
Yeah,
what do you think,
super musty.
Well, maybe it's because you've been talking about cereal, but I'm getting cereal on this one too.
Yeah. So name that cereal, since we've got one for the other 3. This is a toughie.
Well, I think I named a cereal and someone may have got it, but again, in my childhood, I remember there was this dark brown cereal that was kind of bran-esque that looked like it was in the shape of eights, but it was like two kind of circles together with like a little line on the middle of them. I have no idea what that was. But it reminds me of this.
Dark rye bread. That's a good one.
Yeah.
And like bran muffins with raisins.
Bran muffins. Yeah. With raisins for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Weetabix. Yeah.
Honey
Graham, I think,
glazed.
might have it. Yeah.
The bran muffin has to be honey glazed.
Graham, I'm going to take your Weetabix for the call there on the cereal. I think that's a good call.
I will say though, to Peter's point, like this is very Sauterny on the palate. It just did not get it on the nose.
Yeah, it still does keep some of that musty edge to it, even on the palate, but not in a bad way.
But it has that honey, fruity, like bright, sweet fruit note that I think of when I think of Sauterny. Like Sauterny is kind of a balance between sweet, like musty, and fruit, and you kind of do get quite a bit of that on the palate.
On the palate.
Water's interesting on this one palate wise. It goes into I actually like what it does. It goes into a little bit of lemon Vicks lozenge.
I'm afraid to add water to it because I'm actually enjoying it too much.
Lemon and honey.
Evan, I better not regret this.
You can always pour more, man.
No, I can't. I empty out my full bottle into the box.
Wow.
Going for full effect.
I hold some back just in case I want to have more. What do you think?
I guess I'm living too much in the now. I liked it better without water, hands down.
Fair.
Are there any whiskeys that you do like with water?
Like occasionally. I would say my batting average on that is like one out of 20. I like with better water.
So Mike thinks the cereal you were thinking of, Andrew, was C3POs.
Ooh. I'm gonna have to look into those. I'm assuming it's not around anymore.
No, they'd be named after that round droid now. Can't remember what they call them.
BB-8.
Yeah. Okay, let's go on to number 6. Number 6 is Oyster Karate or Oyster Karate. Refill ex-bourbon hogshead, 27th of April for the date. 232 bottles from the Outturn, 57.4% alcohol. Wow. So knowing what distillery this is, the nose makes sense, but it's got something deep and dark under there that I was not expecting. Like it's got a lot of the salty citrus right up front, a little bit of seaweed in there, but it's into like squid ink pasta and stuff on the nose as well.
And I was gonna say like mulled vinegar as well.
Yeah. Molasses kelp, Peter says. That's a cool one. Caramel brine, Steve says.
Oh man. Pickle juice.
Yeah, that pickle juice is a good call. That's like one of the more pickle juicy non-ryes out there.
So when I was in London for the whiskey show, the Adelphi guys who own the Ardnamurchan distillery had Angus McRail, one of the guys on Whiskey Fun, into their warehouse and just let him randomly. What's that?
The whiskey sponge.
The whiskey sponge was in the warehouse there, and he found a cask and he yelled out at them. He's like, "Oh my God, guys, this one smells like pickle juice." And Adelphi bottled an Ardnamurchan cask and called it Ardnagurkin. And it is one of the weirdest whiskeys I've ever smelled. This is shades.
That's awesome. See, it's the only whiskey where you take a sip of it and it actually snaps when you sip into it. And this is a really cool whiskey.
Yeah. The nose is weird. It's super weird.
Any guesses on this one?
Oh yeah.
This again has a bit of that hairspray on the palate. A bit of a charred note along with the smoke and peat.
Burnt bacon.
But it does have that. Sorry?
Burnt bacon.
Yeah.
Like when it's like charred and like starting to crumble because it's so dry and burnt.
And it's like full on licking oyster shells at the same time.
I'm gonna add water to this because I'm gonna be honest, like this one I'm struggling with a little bit.
So the tasting note says this is a textbook example of this make. So we should have some good guesses on this one.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, I could see how I think I could probably guess this one. I could be wrong. It definitely has the salted margarita tones that I would expect. Chris says maybe it comes from Vlasic Distillery. Could be.
It does get better with water.
I'm not a Caesar guy, but I'm assuming this would make a wicked Caesar.
You like this with water, Andrew?
Yeah, I do.
Wow.
Partly because Cam, I think if I'm being honest, I don't like it without water. So
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah. If you turn Andrew around now, there's a dial on the back that says 20 because he hit the 20th dram where he has to add water to it, and now it resets.
Right.
Yeah. It's gonna be a couple weeks until we hit that again. Yeah, you might also say damning with faint praise might apply on this one.
Yeah. Mike says I get dirt on the finish and not good dirt. You could say manure if you wanted, or just call it barnyard if you're going in that route, Mike.
So this is not a sherry cask, so this is not what happened to this whiskey, but I immediately looked at the sheet because I know you mentioned what type of cask it was, Evan, and I'm not going to lie. Yeah. Handsome as you are, went in one ear and out the other, because I don't really worry too much about those things when I'm tasting it. But I remember when Mike Miyamoto from Suntory, who for a time worked for Bowmore in Scotland, went to Spain, and they did a surprise check on one of their bodegas. And they found that one of their bodegas was not filling the casks they purchased with sherry to season them, but it filled them with vinegar. And this has kind of so much of a vinegary note to me that I was like, this isn't a sherry cask. Maybe this is one of those vinegar seasoned casks. It's not. So that's not it. But
that sounds like something you don't do as a cost-cutting measure. It's something that you do as an insult.
Yeah. It's something you do if you don't care about your business relationship.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, well, let's spare Andrew and move from oyster karate and go to the last but not least of the night, which is smoking bananas in a frankincense den. Started his life in an ex-bourbon hogshead, finished in a first fill barrique. So likely a wine cask of some sort, given the name. 18th of August for the date, 254 bottles for the Outturn, 60.8% alcohol. Ooh, this is a wild one. That is like a marriage of maple syrup and balsamic vinegar on the nose right now for me. Rum banana flambe, Peter says. I could see that as well.
This is like a rum matured in a sherry cask.
Mm-hmm. Little bit of red onion in there, just cutting up red onions as well. Actually, even a touch of horseradish for me.
This one is so weird. Smells really toasted.
Yeah, toasted, but also some epoxy in there.
Yeah, it's like going into like a if someone like that epoxy note, Evan, if someone has their, you know, a new bookshelf put in, but they have it sprayed with like a lacquer, like thick lacquer.
But then underneath that, there's like strawberry jam.
Yeah.
Some
I was going
cherries
to
in
say
there
it's
as
like
well.
Armagnac, chocolate,
Yeah.
leather.
Oh, Chris is on board so far. I got to try this one out palate wise.
That's an interesting palate.
Super wild palate.
There's some nice fruits there. It's a lot more balanced than I thought it was going to be given the nose. Nice fruits, nice those chocolate, leather, spicy Armagnac notes, but balanced nicely and coming in like really sugary, like Demerara sugars on the finish.
Yeah, it still does go very rum-like in style on that side of things with the leathery notes as well. I'm going to take another sip and then I'm going to add water. I don't suggest doing it. I think this one's just going to go super disjointed with water, but we'll see. Chris Walker's already considering cigar pairings on this guy.
Are you sure he's doing a cigar pairing? Maybe he's trying to pair it with the president of Venezuela. Like this is a dram that would go well with Nicolas Maduro.
It just tastes like socialism.
Well, yeah. I was going to say more like autocracy. It tastes like no freedom. Just kidding. I like the taste of this. So
yeah,
definitely does. This definitely does taste like freedom then, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
While we're tasting this one, for a bit of background, this is, as I said at the beginning, this is the second Outturn in a row where I put the lineup together and not put a peated whiskey at the end, where the peated whiskeys came earlier. And on this one, it's a little bit wilder because the peated whiskeys were split up. But you guys feel free to try and prove me wrong. Sean tasted around with this one as well, but I could not find another spot for the seventh whiskey in the lineup. I think it's a really cool whiskey, but it is also a palate destroyer where it just, you put it before something else and the something else that comes afterwards just gets completely lost in it. And not even just lost, but also just doesn't show the way it should, in my opinion.
Yeah, I sat down with Evan on this. I sat down with you on this one when we were trying to figure out, where this was. And it was not easy.
Yeah.
It really did make every other whiskey after it not taste good.
Yeah. With water, actually, I'm surprised. It does have this nice cinnamon heart note right now on the nose for me.
All right.
Still has a little bit of strawberry rhubarb pie now.
Evan, if I ruin this,
I'm still worried for the palate, so I do not sign off on it.
Doesn't seem to do too much harm to the nose.
Well, you know, the palate, it did not go as weird and wild as I thought it would.
Still like it better without.
Yeah, same here. Like it doesn't completely fall apart, which is nice. And I think it still drinks fine, but I do prefer it without. Crazy whiskey. This is one of those whiskeys again, which what I like the Scotch Malt Whisky Society for is that every once in a while you come along across these whiskeys where it doesn't matter how many bottles you have, you don't have anything like it on your shelf, and this is one of those whiskeys to me.
You know who definitely wouldn't have one of these whiskeys on a shelf?
Who's that?
Kurt.
I thought you were going to go there. I think I was saying to Cam actually when we tasted this, like we got to pour this for Kurt because he's the first thing he's going to do is make the face, and then he's going to point to his arms and see these goosebumps, see these goosebumps. He has a very visceral reaction and physical reaction in some cases to wine cask finishes. Very interesting whiskey.
Having this one after the peated whiskeys actually makes it taste better.
I totally agree. I think you have to put it at number 7 personally. But guys, chime in if you think I'm wrong or have a differing opinion. I'm more than happy to hear it. Chris says number 6 needs no help to not taste good.
I was gonna go the other way and say I think number 6 goes out of its way to make number 7 look good.
Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, you taste number 6, and now everybody is hearing us talk about number 7, and they're like, "What are they talking about? Weird."
Yeah, I'm not the wine
pretty
cask
straightforward whiskey, guys. Yeah,
I'm not the wine cask skeptic that Kurt is, but it is a style that I struggle with a lot. So, anyway, I'm back at the beginning.
Yeah, should we give it like a one more quick run through before we do the reveal?
Or do it. Okay. Or I was going to say we could just reveal it as we're doing it.
Yeah, you know what, Evan, we don't want to disappoint Cam. Like
that's right.
We want to give him the tasting that he's used to. So
yeah, I don't like change.
Yeah, it's okay, Cam. We got you.
I'll take whatever change you have. I could use it right now just for groceries. Okay, so starting back on number 1. Underground Bakery. I'll bring up the page here and I'll share it after we talk about it a little bit.
Is this the one, Andrew, that you said you got like Twizzlers, strawberry Twizzlers? Because that's all I get on it now.
Sorry, I had to go for a quick Walter cuddle.
Is the first one the one that you said you had strawberry Twizzlers on it?
No, but no? I can see why it does have that kind of waxy floral.
Yeah, to me, I'd go with strawberry shortcake right now on the nose.
To me, it's I agree. Strawberry shortcake. You've got that angel food cake, strawberry sugar cream. Yeah, that's probably the best summation of it. Maybe a bit of like lemon drizzle loaf as well.
Yeah, still has the wild finish where it's like it's got a bit of fruit, a little bit, a lot of baked goods in there, but then finishes on the like mostly oaky note on the palate where it kind of cuts off. Okay, so whiskey number 1, Underground Bakery. I'll just share the screen here. Do you want to do the talking, Ken?
Sure. Yep. So cask number is 115.26, which makes it Knockdhu or Annock. Yeah. Region of Speyside. It's 11 years old, 2nd of September 2009. And the price is $148.
This is, I felt like I had a pretty good feel for Annock. I wouldn't have guessed this as Annock though. I'm not sure what I would have guessed it as, but Annock to me, especially in ex-bourbon, tends to have more of a citrusy feel there. This one went far more into strawberries than I recall.
It's funny. I was going to say that to me, this really reminded me of that 16-year-old 125th anniversary bourbon.
Cool. You know that some of the oiliness of it that I can see on the palate, I can see where you're going on that. And actually, now that you say it, the citrus is coming out on the palate, on the nose as well.
I really like this one. It might be my favorite.
Yeah, it's a cool dram. Okay, on to whiskey number 2, a real sweetie. Just gonna nose it again quickly.
I think Granny was also using some very like fruity floral soap.
Yeah. Yeah, it's soap where it doesn't matter what it smelled like, it was pink. Like it had to be pink soap. I am getting more into strawberry Twizzlers right now on this one. Or the red Twizzlers, sorry. Okay, I'll share my screen.
Okay. Cask number for this one is 5.77, which makes it an Auchentoshan. Toshan. Region is lowland. Toshan. Region is lowland. Age is 18 years old. 16th of January 2003, and the price is $227.
This one for me is more Auchentoshan now than it was the first time around. Where it seems like, especially for society bottles lately, when we've gotten the Auchentoshan single casks, and I tend to really enjoy them. They always have that cotton candy and Twizzler note on the palate for me, and that's all over the place now, second time through.
Yeah, I mean, this was classic Auchentoshan to me right from the beginning. It's incredibly floral, soft citrus. I just think for me, and you know, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't read the full panel tasting notes, so I haven't figured out where the tasting note came from. But like the name doesn't really add up to me. This is more about floral tones than it is sweet.
I should have taken a look at the tasting notes, but it does make me think they're talking about the grandmother that everybody had, or the aunt, the great aunt that you had with the hard candies and stuff, that replacing the sort of floral potpourri. I've got some sort of white sham on my Chesterfield that I don't want anybody to stain, sort of vibe to it.
Dusty doilies.
Yeah.
That's
cartridges.
the tasting notes don't really have anything to do with the grandmother.
Yeah.
But
real miss there by the SMWS then.
Yeah.
Swing and a miss.
Yeah, that one's actually growing on me now.
I still like number one more.
Yeah. Yeah, number one, actually, I really, I liked it the first time around, but I enjoyed it more the second time around as well. Okay, back to talking about the youth of today and what they're up to.
Do you think by that they mean they're coming in hot because this is over 60%?
Yeah, to me it sounds like they like a rip from the headlines. Scotch Malt Whisky Society name. It's like it's going to be a 5-part series on the Huffington Post or something like that. The youth of today.
No respect for their elders.
That's right.
So this one is cask number 48.146, which makes it Allt-a-Bhainne. Region is Speyside. It is 8 years old, 12th of November 2012, and it is $126.
Cam, this is the strawberry Twizzlers one, and it's
This is it.
Strawberry Twizzlers, red shoelaces, and all that kind of stuff.
Pink elephant popcorn right now as well.
I'm not feeling this one.
No,
it's okay. I mean, it's well, who's kidding who? I like them all, but this one is not my favorite tonight for sure.
So Allt-a-Bhainne Distillery is
it's my least favorite.
That's known for Cowrun gin as well.
I forgive you, Cam.
Yeah, just being honest.
Just one man's number 3 whiskey is another man's number 6 whiskey, I think, is what it comes down to there.
I mean, if somebody bought it and poured me some, I wouldn't say no, you know.
Man, I've already jumped ahead to I Dream of Jeannie, and
yeah,
man,
I'm looking forward to trying this one again.
It was before.
Oh,
this is a little bit of a weird and wacky Outturn in a cool manner.
I think this whiskey should be called In the Mistress's Dungeon.
All right. Cask number is 108.47, which is an Allt-a-Bhainne.
Too edgy, Cam?
A little bit. Good thing I have my headphones on so my wife doesn't hear.
That's
region is Speyside. It's 10 years old, 30th of September 2011, and $140. And I think this one's fantastic myself. I like this.
It's going on me. I don't think the name should be Mistress's Dungeon. I think it should be 7-Eleven beef jerky. Right now, the nose is a combination of peppercorn beef jerky plus teriyaki beef jerky on the nose for me, and on the palate.
It's got a ton of barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say like South Carolina style barbecue for me on the palate. But yeah, it's kind of one of those ones where it's like, it's a little bit all over the place.
It is.
So,
it's, I think it's really interesting, this one. And it's not overly peat. Like, I don't get it overly peated. Kind of a really muted peat.
Yeah, it's got that more smoke and astringent spice driven style to it. Okay, next up, back to, which one is it?
Effortlessly exotic.
Thank you. I wasn't going to be able to get that out, so. Still love that nose.
Mm-hmm.
Any guesses on this one before we reveal? It's full on like fruit salad in a cup now on the nose.
Yeah,
me.
but I think it fruit salad on the palate too, but you're also getting the plastic cup that it came in.
Mm-hmm.
It's super funky too.
Yep.
That's cool.
So this one is cask number 112.102, which is Loch Lomond or Inchmurin. Region is Highland. It's 21 years old. 25th of July 2000. The price is $260. Now,
yeah,
I'd be curious to know what people thought of putting this one after the peat. Because we tried this in various positions as well, and it seemed to go really well anywhere, except after smoking bananas.
Yeah, it's fruit salad, whereas you toss like a couple jalapeno slices in there because it's got a little bit of that spicy bite to it and a touch of mint as well.
It's kind of like when you candy jalapeno with a bit of like sugar and vinegar.
Yeah.
I can see that. I mean, this is classic Loch Lomond to me. It's like funky, fruity, like a little bit unusual, but in a good way, that you can't quite put your finger on. That's a fun one.
That is good.
Okay, on to Andrew's least favorite of the night.
Well, let's have some guesses on this one since it's supposed to be textbook.
Yeah.
No.
Anybody want to guess on this one?
Give the region there, Cam. That'll help.
All right, it's Islay.
Oh man, Tyler, that is a cool note.
That is.
Tyler says Kalila Meetle Pulteney.
Yeah. To me, it tastes more like heavily peated Bunnahabhain than it does Kalila.
Yeah, I could kind of see that. To me, it's still Bunnahabhain, or still Kalila, but it does have that heavily peated Bunnahabhain and Kalila they definitely have like a similar style to them.
It basically destroys for me that axiom that Kalila is the most consistently good whiskey in Scotland. Because this is
So this
So,
is
so
indeed,
your name for it, Andrew, should have been the exception to the rule.
Yeah.
so it is definitely a Kahlil. 53.401. Islay.
401st Kahlil from the society. Crazy.
10 years old. 27th of April 2011. It's $170. I like it. I don't mind it at all.
Yeah, I like that sort of weird darkness that it has to it. That weird depth that it goes into.
Mike says it should have stopped at 400.
Ouch. It's I think, Andrew, maybe what you don't like about it too is it's going into that Sharpie sort of slightly Lecheggy tone.
Yeah, it's definitely on the Lecheg spectrum.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. That's actually a mental illness that I've been diagnosed with, as I'm on the Lecheg spectrum.
How about the last one? Now, I think everyone knows it's not this, but like the last one is very Cavalan-esque.
Oh, cool.
Like this really reminds me of the Vinho. The more and more I get into this last one. Not quite
taste it. Yeah, that's a good call, and I can see where you're going on that. And while you're saying that too, one of the notes, just nosing it again, that I get on this is heavy like celery notes, like celery seed, and even into celery salt right now.
So I'm getting all very charred, smoky oak on the nose now. Second go around.
It still has that nice cinnamon, hearts, and apple note on the palate for me right now. This is one of those where I would have never guessed what the distillery is. I think the second cast there takes over, but maybe somebody might. I'll share the screen there.
All right. So this is not Cavalan. It is 68.78, which makes it Blair Athol from Highland. 13 years old, 18th of August, 2008. And the price is $166.
Yeah. Also cheaper than just about every Cavalan out there.
Yes.
Way cheaper. I'm going to bow out just because I've got to run. So I'm going to share my favorites. Because,
Go ahead.
Bizarrely, I think it's that last one, the Blair Athol.
Cool.
I just love it's kind of big and wild, but full of character. And if I had to go for a second favorite tonight, I think I'm going to go with the Auchentoshan,
cool.
Which is an unusual one for me. I just love how classically floral it is for that distillery. And I think it shows really well. And I'm pretty sure I don't have to tell people my least favorite, so we won't.
Good news is Andrew's not going to buy a bottle that you can't get. So
there's lots of them left. Come and get them.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, have a good night. I'm going to bow out. Cam.
Thanks,
Sam,
Andrew.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Well,
Cam, did you want to share your favorites?
Well, I really did like the first one, and I like the I Dream of Jeannie, the Allt-a-Bhainne. Those are probably my two favorites, the first one and the Allt-a-Bhainne. I did not like the last one, and probably because we tried it, you and I tried it earlier, and I really did think it was a palate killer. Didn't matter where we put it in the lineup, the whiskey after it tasted terrible. And it seemed like the only place to put this was at the end.
Yep.
And so I am not a fan of the last one for that reason. But I mean, maybe maybe somebody else could try it. Try it at the beginning of the night. Try it with something sweet after, and be curious to know what other people think.
Yeah, I got to say that I liked it so much more this time around than I did when we were setting the lineup. But it's not in my two favorites. But first, Sammy, do you want to chime in? Did you have two favorites in the night?
Yeah, the Underground Bakery is the one I like the most.
Cool.
Yeah, that was the first one. Yeah, that's the one I like too, Sam.
Yeah. Do you have a second favorite, Sam?
Yeah, the second one is the I Dream of Jeannie.
Nice. Yeah, that almost made my top two. Actually,
Yeah,
the Cleela almost made my top two as well. My favorite is it's actually the Effortlessly Exotic.
Oh yeah, that was good.
I love that fruit salad style. I was really excited to nose that one. This one, I honestly, I was a little bit disappointed again when we tried it in the lineup, but it has really grown on me this time in the tasting itself. So I'm glad that is showing better for me this time around. Second favorite for me is a real sweetie. Even though it didn't come out as a true Auchentoshan or what I was expecting first time through, second time through it totally redeemed itself. I was really happy with it, but really happy with the tasting over and all. I actually liked the oyster karate as well, unlike Andrew. So
no, I like that one too.
Yep. Very cool lineup. Definitely a lot of weird ones in there, which is really cool. We're gonna have to take off soon, but I'll just take a look at a few of the comments before we do. Tyler says 6 reminded me of the 1970s movie Dram. Very cool. Nice pull. That 1970s was just a knockout on that one. Graham, I'm not sure which one you're talking about there, but I love the idea of smell of Play-Doh haunts me as a non sequitur. So I think that's a great comment. Kevin says 724 were my top 3. So Kevin's favorite was the Smoking Frankincense, followed by a Real Sweetie, which has gotten a few votes now. And then number 4, Dream of Jeannie, which has already gotten a few votes as well. Awesome. Definitely a wild lineup where there's, I think everything just had a little bit different of a spin than I was expecting in there, which made it a lot of fun. But I think we've got to run. I definitely have to because I've got another society tasting tomorrow night in store. Cam might join me on that one as well.
Oh yeah, I'm Sammy, not able to make it tonight.
Yeah. But we're going to have to take off for now. Hopefully next virtual tasting, we'll be able to stick around and chat. What I'll do though is I'll try not to shut it down for everybody. I will stop the recording